What if the most powerful people in the world were all connected by one man, and the evidence was sitting inside a series of sealed files? This is the story of the Epstein files, not just the crimes of one financier, but the unraveling of a global network that shook royalty, presidents, billionaires, and institutions to their core. Jeffrey Epstein did not begin as a household name. In the late 1970s, he was a college dropout who briefly worked as a math teacher before transitioning into finance. By the 1980s and 1990s, he had reinvented himself as a mysterious money manager for ultra-wealthy clients. He rarely gave interviews. His client list was secret. His wealth seemed immense. But what truly defined Epstein was not just money. It was access. He cultivated relationships with scientists, politicians, celebrities, and royalty. He owned a Manhattan mansion, a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a ranch in New Mexico, and properties in Palm Beach and Paris. He traveled on private jets with powerful passengers. He embedded himself inside elite social circles. Then the accusations began in the early 2000s. Parents in Palm Beach reported that their teenage daughters had been recruited to give messages at Epstein's home. Police launched an investigation. Dozens of underage girls described a pattern: grooming, cash payments, sexual abuse. By 2008, federal prosecutors had assembled a serious case. But what followed stunned observers. Epstein negotiated a secretive plea deal with U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. Instead of facing federal sex trafficking charges that could have meant life in prison, Epstein pleaded guilty in Florida state court to 2 charges related to prostitution. His sentence, 13 months in county jail. Even more controversial, he was granted work release, allowed to leave jail up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. He reportedly had access to a private office, personal drivers, and a security detail. Victims were not informed of the plea agreement, a violation of federal law later acknowledged in court rulings. The first Epstein scandal seemed to fade. He returned to New York. He hosted dinners again. Powerful associates continued visiting his townhouse. Some claimed ignorance, others distanced themselves quietly. But he remained socially active. For nearly a decade it appeared he had survived. Then came 2018. The Miami Herald published a groundbreaking investigative series exposing the details of the plea deal and giving voice to dozens of survivors. Public outrage reignited. Pressure mounted. The Department of Justice reopened scrutiny. In July 2019, Epstein was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey on federal sex trafficking charges. This time, prosecutors alleged he had operated a trafficking ring involving dozens of underage girls in multiple states between 2002 and 2005. His Manhattan mansion was raided. Investigators seized hard drives, CDs labeled with cryptic descriptions, safes, photographs, and documents. The world braced for a trial that promised explosive revelations. And then, something happened that changed everything. On August 10, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The official ruling, suicide by hanging. But almost immediately, controversy erupted. Security cameras malfunctioned. Guards reportedly fell asleep. Cell checks were missed. The high-profile inmate had been removed from suicide watch days earlier. Conspiracy theories exploded across the political spectrum. Polls showed large percentages of Americans doubted the official explanation. The phrase, "Epstein didn't kill himself," became a cultural phenomenon. But while the man was gone, the files remained. Attention turned to his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, a British socialite and daughter of media tycoon Robert Maxwell. Prosecutors alleged she had recruited and groomed underage girls for Epstein. In 2020, she was arrested. In 2021, she was convicted on federal sex trafficking charges and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Yet even with Maxwell convicted, questions persisted. Who else knew? Who else participated? Who benefited? And what was inside the sealed documents tied to Epstein's network? Over the years, thousands of pages of court records were filed under seal, including depositions, witness statements, flight logs, and contact books. Journalists fought for transparency. Survivors pushed for disclosure. In January 2024, a significant batch of documents was unsealed by court order in a civil case involving Maxwell. Media outlets worldwide began combing through the pages. The release did not contain a single client list, as some had speculated. Instead, it revealed names of individuals mentioned in depositions, politicians, business leaders, celebrities. Many were cited as acquaintances or passengers on flights. Being named did not imply wrongdoing, but public reaction was intense. High-profile figures previously linked socially to Epstein found their names resurfacing in headlines. Some reiterated that they had cut ties after his 2008 conviction. Others emphasized they were never accused of criminal behavior. The documents painted a picture not just of crimes, but of proximity. Flight logs confirmed that powerful individuals had traveled on Epstein's private jet. Contact books showed how extensively he networked. Testimonies described the inner workings of his properties, including the now infamous Little St. James Island. Yet many records remain sealed. Civil lawsuits continue. Survivors pursue accountability from institutions alleged to have facilitated or ignored warning signs. Major financial institutions, including banks that serviced Epstein, have faced lawsuits and settlements over claims they failed to report suspicious transactions. In 2023, JP Morgan Chase agreed to pay $290 million to settle a lawsuit brought by Epstein survivors without admitting wrongdoing. Deutsche Bank previously settled for $75 million. Meanwhile, political implications linger. Prince Andrew of the United Kingdom faced intense scrutiny after his association with Epstein became widely known. In 2022, he settled a civil sexual assault lawsuit filed by Virginia Gifford without admitting liability. Epstein files have come to represent something larger than one criminal case. They symbolize distrust in institutions. They reflect public suspicion that wealth and influence distort justice. They also raise uncomfortable questions about how long Epstein operated in plain sight. Why did his 2008 plea deal happen? Why did so many powerful figures maintain contact afterward? Why were warning signs missed or ignored? For survivors, the files are not conspiracy fuel. They are evidence of trauma, of manipulation, of systems that failed to protect vulnerable teenagers. For the public, they are a window into elite networks rarely examined. And the story is not finished. More court battles over sealed documents continue. More investigative reporting unfolds. Each unsealed page reignites debate. The Epstein case sits at the intersection of power, privilege, justice, and secrecy. It began with a math teacher reinventing himself as a financier. It escalated into one of the largest sex trafficking scandals involving elite circles in modern history. It ended, at least for him, in a jail cell under disputed circumstances. But the files remain, locked in court archives, partially revealed, studied line by journalists and citizens alike. The real tension now is not just about what happened. It is about what has not yet been fully disclosed. Because if history has shown anything, it is this: power leaves paper trails. And somewhere in thousands of pages, unsealed or still hidden, are connections that continue to shape reputations, institutions, and public trust. The Epstein files are not just records of crimes. They are a mirror held up to power itself. And the reflection is still coming into focus.